that will come true later. The green hills, the pine trees, and the sound of the birds singing in the distance, and the quiet smoke that was blowing in the sky. The day came here slowly, and the sun came to the land without a word. Who will hold hands with whom? And just at that time, when the darkness and the new word mixed together created an illusion of a strange kind of death, then a name rose up in the air: Ghogor. This name is not a mantra or a declaration. It is an old story hidden in the mountains, whose face no one sees, but whose shadow remains in everyone's mind. If one day you sit in the tea shop of any mountain village in Himachal, look at a tree, wash your hands with a cup, and sit next to someone. The sound of the flute is heard. The eyes are not closed, the ears are soft. Because of the name, Ghogor is not just a word of fear. It has many meanings. In the rural community, there is nothing new in the use of fear. After birth, mothers control their children's behavior by creating stories like "the old man will come and take you in the dark," or just a game of imagination. But the way the children feel is a place of trouble. Those who listen believe. Those who do not understand, they do imagine. And again, when they are told, that imagination settles in their hearts, their flesh and blood. The small village of Himachal it is the birthplace of many plants and trees. Here, in the early morning, everything wakes up by touching the nature, and night comes in silence, as if someone from the cloud is slowly breaking free. The village is inhabited by a man named Kamal, a poor man from a poor family. His family is small. His parents are old. His wife is Meena, and the 5-year-old son is Sujan. Sujan was a very curious person who was always confused, always asking questions. If he tried to answer something, he would not stop until he got the answer. He would say, "Mom, yes, Mom." That is, "What's in that jungle, Mom? Is there someone behind that tree?" That's all the questions. The one who used to ignore the elders, used to get worried again and again. If you live in a mountainous area, people know that nature is like a storm. When Sujan wanted to go out one by one, the parents would first be careful. If you go back, no one will be able to see you. But no matter how much they warn him, he won't listen. They were worried about Sujan. They would not stop thinking. With the absence of Sujan, his mother was very worried. And then one day, he was told such a story that he was left speechless. If you go out, you will be taken by Ghogor. This one boy, who had fear, ignorance, and an unknown seed of imagination. He said, Mom Sujan had stopped listening to this story. His eyes had become big, as if he was watching a new character. A few days later, he started to go to the window. He whispered and said, "Did Ghogor come yesterday, Mother?" A new thing happened. He looked for Ghogor inside the toy. He said, "Mother, he is hiding under the bed. He had seen me last night." Mother laughed. He nodded his head with admiration and said, "Son, Ghogor is just an imagination. Don't be afraid." But the seed of that imagination has gone so deep under the ground. Then the family of Sujans came to know about it. A few days later, Sujan's attitude changed. He sat quietly for a long time, without knowing. He was always standing next to the window. He said in the meantime, "Mom, I've heard about Ghogor today. Ghogor says he knows where I am." Sujan could not sleep well at night. The fear in his eyes was not a dream. It was a superstition. One afternoon, Sujan's mother Meena was working in the kitchen. Suddenly she thought, Sujan has no sound for a long time. She looked at him and saw that he was hiding under the rock and crying. The mother asked, "Who is Sujan? What happened?" He laughed and said, "It was Ghogor. I saw him in the mirror." Sujan's father thought, maybe he will share all these ideas with the elder. He did not give him any information about these things. But one night, in the middle of a dark night, Sujan woke up from his sleep and said, "He came here, Mother. Ghogor was standing beside my head. He said, 'You will go this time. Mother, Mother, Ghogor will take me. Save me, Mother. Save me.'" His parents ran over and hugged him, but his body was wet. His mom noticed that Sujan's clothes were soaked in red liquid. As soon as she took off his clothes, Mom was shocked to see that Sujan's chest, back, shoulders were covered with a long scar. The scar looks like someone scratches it with their nails. Such a sharp scar, such a deep one. The door of the house was closed from the inside, even window also closed. There is no way out or in. There was no trace of a thief anywhere. Then, where did these scratches come from? No one answered this question. From that night on, the name Ghogor became a little more hoarse in the village's wind. People stopped talking. The children closed the window. And in Kamal's house, the parents closed the window at dawn. Because maybe Ghogor was still there in the shades. He is waiting for Sujan outside the window. A few days later, the sky was clear and the sun was not yet set. But that village, where no one had any sleep, even before the sun set. Everyone in Kamal's house is sitting in the yard. The topic of conversation is that Ghogor, Sujan's grandfather, sits quietly, smoking a cigarette some distance away. After some time, he got up slowly and said, "I went up to the yard last night. I saw a shadow." Suddenly it passed by Sujan's house silently. The shadow had two big horns on its head. I don't know what it is. Kamal and Mina's faces became frightened. What had been avoided until now as a child's imagination or delusion now stood at the front of the room and whispered, "I have come." Early that morning, they rushed to the village's Shiva temple. The priest went to the house, and the worship began. Incense, bells, conch shells, and the customary bowing were offered. The sound of the mantra, which for a moment seemed to lighten the room. Sujan was asleep in Sujan's bed. A little tiredness on the face, as if the body is a little calm. It wasn't long before the night was over, and that night, in his sleep, his body was sweating. His throat was dry, his eyes were red, and again, there was a scratch on his shoulder. Their family could understand now that this fear was not coming from outside. It had not taken root inside him only. It was as if the Ghogor had truly taken shape in reality. Who can't stop by priest or mantra? Then Kamal said, "Sujan's mom, let's go out of this village. I heard of a priest on Mountain Cave." In the afternoon, they went to an old cave-like hermitage. There sat an old man, almost blind, his eyes completely white. It seemed to him that he knew everything. Sitting in front of him, he closed his eyes and said, "There is a shadow on the boy. Fear has entered him. He himself, who gave birth to this soul, who is not only the soul, a life imprisoned by the mind." Mina kept staring blankly. Said, "What can we do now, Father?" Priest said, "The fear you have instilled in him. That fear ruined his life. If he can't overcome this fear from within, whatever we does from outside will be in vain. The mother realized that this fear was her own creation. That little Ghogor word that was funny to say one day is now standing between the life and death of her child. The next few days became even more terrifying. Sujan would sit silently. Sometimes his eyes would widen and he would say, "Today, I see his toenails, Mother." His toenails were very big, unusually long. It wasn't like that before. Fear will gather in his eyes. His lips will tremble, not playing with toys. He would keep his own dolls in the corner of the room and say, "Listen, none of you are talking. Ghogor will get angry." One day, his mother saw him drawing something on paper. When she looked at it, she realized that it was a huge shadow figure. His eyes were red with fire. His hands were covered in nails, nails that were bloodstains. The one written, "Ghogor is my friend, but these days he gets angry for no reason." As the days passed, Suzanne's behavior changed even more. He would sit on his father's chest, scratching and causing injuries. That night, the decision was made to shackle Sujan. Doctors, priests, saints, nothing was working. If no action is taken, maybe one day he will go out with that Ghogor. The body was tied with a towel and shackled in a soft cloth. The door was closed from the outside. The mother sat next to him and cried and whispered, "Don't be angry, son. I love you very much." Sujan watched silently. His face was pale, but there was a hint of understanding. The night did not remain quiet either. Suddenly, in his sleep, he screamed and said in a trembling voice, "He's saying, 'It's time. Open the door.'" His voice almost dried up. He was jumping on bed in the middle of night, his mom splashing water on his face. After a while, he lost his breath and fell unconscious. His eyes closed. In the morning, an old man came to Kamal's house. He said, "The boy's mind is not in his mind anymore. The fear has entered his mind. His imagination has been transformed into a real demon. He has given it the name of Ghogor. He had some kind of deal with Ghogor. Now, he is not alone in his body." Hearing this, my parents started to cry. Does that mean Sujan is now in Ghogor's hands? A child who can only imagine. Is his life slowly moving towards death because of that fantasy today? From that day on, the nights became unbearable, uncomfortable. Fog covers the house. The wind is howling. A loud voice in the air. Someone's shadow seems to be standing by the window. But when he saw the window, he said, "But when you look, there's no one there." The sound of someone walking slowly on the roof. One night, Sujan woke up in the middle of the night and said, "Mom, Mom, I'm thirsty." Mom entered the room with water. Sujan fell asleep. The silence was still, stubborn. She kept his hand on his head with the water next to the window. His feet were as cold as ice. As soon as she removed the clothes from his body, she saw that the chains were loose. But the lock was all right. How could such a heavy lock suddenly become so loose? She got up and left the house, but then she heard the sound. Tick, tick. The sound of the chain as if someone is walking slowly with those shackled. He is coming towards the door. Then I heard the sound of two people's mouths, laughter, and the sound of a rage. The whispers were coming from the corners of the room. Suddenly, it stopped. All of a sudden, there was a loud noise inside the house. All in all, it's like a secret meeting. Mother and father got up together. They stood beside the door and saw that the wind was blowing inside the house. They opened the door and entered the house. Sujan is sleeping. Window was open. The wind was blowing. But there was nothing inside the house. But there was something. One sight. Mother thought that someone was looking at them from every corner of the house. But there was nothing anywhere. That night, someone knocked at the window from the outside 3 times. But no one was outside. Now Ghogor is no longer just a name. It has become a shadowy body that roams in the darkness of the night, breaks through imagination and comes to reality. And Sujan? He was not only a baby at that moment, he was a door to the other world, on the other side of which something is waiting, maybe Ghogor. How many hours of night after night passed in silence, holding breath. Everyone was lying down. No one was sleeping. The tiredness in the eyes of both parents, the pain in their chests, was unbearable. All that night, they just stared out the window. Not to see a shadow, but in the hope that the shadow will never come again. The next day, they decided not to keep Sujan alone anymore. He would sleep in front of his parents. That night, by candlelight, Sujan's mother sat next to her, placing a loving kiss on her forehead. His father stood by the window. He wanted to hear the sound of footsteps in the wind. Sujan was very calm. His eyes were closed. It seemed like he was slowly falling asleep. Mom said, "You'll sleep well today, okay? Both parents are with you." Sujan didn't say anything, just smiled softly. 2 nights passed in a row, but the third night was different. That night, around 3 a.m., Sujan suddenly stood up from the bed. His eyes were closed, a strange calmness on his face, but the body seems to be under someone else's control. He started walking slowly, silently. The chains on his feet started to make a ticking sound. The house shook with that sound. Then suddenly, he stopped. Then slowly his body began to rise above the void. It was like a real floating body, head tilted to one side, 2 arms spread out, smile on the face. This smile is not a child's, not a familiar face. That smile is different, as if it were someone's borrowed smile. Mom screamed and came up. She tried to grab her son with trembling hands. Just then, with a loud noise, he fell down. Eyes are open. After that, he spoke normally for a moment. Said, "Mom, did you scare my friend?" He was very scared. Mom stopped for a moment. Dad's body froze in silence. The wind in the room stopped. The noise stopped. The 2 of them looked around the house. No one was there. But why was the wind so heavy? The light was dim. At that moment, they realized that the room had changed. This was no longer the room where they used to put their son to sleep. Someone used to be here. Maybe there still is. They decided the next few days, wherever Sujan says, they won't laugh of anymore, they will listen. Everything, understand every word, describe every word, because every word he says is not imagination. Now every word he says is a real signal. In the evening, Mother asked him, "Is your friend coming again today?" Sujan smiled lightly and said no, then looked at the chair and said, "He's sitting here." Mother looked in that direction. There was nothing there, but the air seemed to have gone out. Night was approaching, Sujan said before going to bed. "Mom, Ghogor says he will take me today." "Mom, should I go with her?" Mom says while tears drop from eyes, "You're going nowhere. My son, you're my heart." Sujan remained silent. One day in the evening, he took out all the toys from under the bed. He took out one after the other and slowly put them all in a bag. Mom asked, "What are you doing, son?" He answered, "Mom, Ghogor said that I have to take everything with me. I will go with him now." The fear that once was just a talk Today that fear has come to take away his own child. Sujan does not speak like before. He has a kind of indifference in his face, a cowardice in his eyes, which is not childlike. The mother was afraid and got scared. She was shouting and called her husband. Father got startled and asked, "Who told you to go? With whom will you go?" Sujan slowly straightened up, pointed his finger toward the chair, and said, "He has come to take me." The chair was empty, but the air in the room suddenly grew heavy, the lamp began to flicker, and in that very moment it felt as if the master of the house was no longer them, someone unseen. The room was filled only with shadows and breaths that belonged to none of the three. That night, once again, Sujan lay bound in chains. Sleep never touched his eyes. He said quietly in his sleep, "Mom, I don't want to stay here anymore. Everyone afraid of me." He said, "When I go with him, I'll be at peace." While crying, the mother said, "You are a piece of my heart. Today, I could give away everything in exchange for you, but you must stay, my son." Sujan replied, "You won't understand, Mom. He is no longer just my friend. He is my everything." The night grew darker and heavier. There was no star in the sky. The sky was so dark. In the morning, the parents saw the door was open. The curtains of the windows were drawn, and Sujan was nowhere in sight. The chains lay on the floor, cut so sharply it seemed as if someone had deliberately severed them. The room was completely silent. Only the wind could be heard carrying a soft echo, the echo of Sujan's voice. "Mom, Dad, I'm leaving. Goodbye." The whole day the sun rose, but that light seemed unable to pierce the darkness of Sujan's room. It was a different kind of morning where Sujan did not wake up, did not laugh, did not say anything. People panicked at Sujan's mother's cries. The whole village searched, through the jungle, the rivers, the hills, even the caves. But Sujan was nowhere to be found. While thinking about Sujan, her eyes fell on the chair. No one is there. Yet it felt as if someone was still sitting there, silently watching. The eyes were fixed on his mother and father, but on the face was a sinister, ghostly smile. Ghogor. Is it just fear, or the name of some demon? Is it a mere story, or a shadow that once called never returns? The whole day and night passed in silence. They knows Sujan will never return, yet he does not leave completely. Sometimes a door creaks open, sometimes a doll stirs slightly, sometimes a sound comes from beneath Sujan's bed, the sound of breathing, slowly, as if someone is falling asleep. No one knows. Sujan will never return, yet he does not go away completely. It has vanished, somehow blending into the air of this house. On the wall of the house, Sujan's loneliness still lingered. An eerie, strange image. A tall, shadowy figure. Fire in its eyes. Its hands were long, long arms, and on its head were two long horns. Beneath the figure, written in trembling hands, was the word, Ghogor. No one dares to enter that room. Its doors remain closed, yet at night it feels as if someone is dragging chains inside. A shadowy figure can be seen. The villagers no longer pass by that house. This story is a warning. It is a lesson. If you ever try to scare your child to teach them something, pause and think. The words you speak may one day take root in your child's imagination. A child's mind is like a blank canvas. They will believe whatever you tell them.